Hi, and welcome to week 14 lab exercise. Today we're going to look at unsupervised classification, and not just any sort of classification. We're looking at unsupervised pixel-based classification, which we just went over in this week's lecture. So to get started, you first want to download the data from Canvas, like we've been doing in previous lab exercises in this semester class. So download the data, extract it. So as an example, just to go over, it's from the downloads folder. Here's my zipped data downloaded from Canvas. You want to right click, select extract all. And I already did this, but you can browse to like a week 14 week 14 folder and then save it here. And you'd select folder, okay, and then extract. And then from there, you want to open a blank ArcPro project. Okay, and as a reminder, unsupervised classification means the spectral variance displayed by the features in the map is partitioned into a specific number of spectral classes without using prior knowledge of the existing cover types or their spectral properties. So we're going to use the spectral properties of the pixels in the image to help classify the land cover. So for today's example, let's connect to our folder that we just downloaded. So right click folder in catalog and select folder connection. And then I'm going to navigate to where I just downloaded and extracted that same data that you just saw me extract. So documents, miscellaneous, Cuesta, week 14. There it is. So I'm going to do the whole folder and select OK. All right. And then from here, let's click the drop down arrow so that it expands the folder. And then let's go to data, Landsat. So this will show all the Landsat data that I downloaded from Earth Explorer. And we want to go to the bottom. So Landsat, it ends in _MTL. Press the arrow. Might take a second to load. And once this expands, we're going to right click on the multispectral and choose add to current map. And you can actually just click on it right now, right click, add to current map. And then you will probably be prompted to calculate statistics. Just go ahead and select yes. Yeah, you actually don't need to open this. You can just right click it and select add to map. Okay, and so make sure this is selected. Not that you want to edit the name, but just that it's highlighted. And then right click on the layer and let's select zoom to layer and let's see where we're going today. Oh, sometimes it takes a second for my computer to load. You may be experiencing the same thing. So we are all the way, zoom out so we can see. So today we're taking a field trip to Denver, Colorado. We have a Landsat image, multispectral band image. And the first thing we're going to do is inspect the data. So let's evaluate the Landsat data, make sure it's something we want to work with. Okay, so make sure this is highlighted and then go up to the raster layer tab at the top. And then we're going to select stretch type. Your icons may look a little different. So it's next to rendering, stretch type, and we're going to choose Esri. So this will highlight the contrast of moderate values while minimizing the impact of extreme high and lows. So there's not a huge obvious difference when we run this, but it does help with evaluating the Landsat data. There it goes. So you can see it does look a little more distinct. Okay, and then let's right click on the layer and select edit function chain. And so here we can see the different functions that were used in the making of this layer. So if we zoom in, we could see that for each band, they've used the raster info, and then they've done a composite band tool and then the stretch combo. So that's what the previous analysts used to make this multispectral layer look the way it has. Let's go ahead and close that. And now the next step is to prepare for classification. So in this step, you will prepare the raster for classification by applying a filter to remove some of the spectral variability. So let's select the imagery tab, and in the analysis window, let's select raster functions, and we'll see that window pop up on the right, and then just type in filter. And we want the convolution. So this applies a filter to sharpen, blur, detect edges, smooth, or gradient across a raster. And then we want to specify which raster we want the tool to use, and let's select the multispectral band. And then instead of sharpen, let's select smoothing 5x5 right there. Okay, and you can just keep the default kernel. And then create new layer. Okay, so this is the first step of the unsupervised classification workflow, is to configure, right? So part of that is preparing for classification, configuring the image classification wizard, which is going to come next. So we've applied a filter, and although this new layer does not appear very different, the output of the classification will be more refined. So you don't really see the difference right now. So we can close the raster function. Okay, so let's make sure this new layer convolution underscore multispectral is selected, and then up at the top under the imagery tab, we're going to select classification wizard. So does everyone know what a wizard is in computers? It's like a pop-up wizard, helps you download files or launch new applications. So it goes step by step and helps the user get a task done. So the wizard in Esri and in ArcGIS Pro will help us classify this image. Okay, so the classification method will be unsupervised. And then we want pixel base. And then classification schema, let's browse to existing schema. So you actually are provided schema with this lab. So go to the folder that you extracted the data from after you downloaded it, and then select data, Esri classification schema. It should be right in the data folder. Select OK. And then the output location, we're just going to select the output folder. You may have just seen it. In that same location, instead of data, we're going to select output and then just select OK. And now we'll select next. So we're first configuring. And then the second part of any unsupervised classification workflow is to train. We want to define the number of classes and any other parameters right in this step. Okay, so for classifier, let's just keep it as ISO cluster, and then we'll change the maximum number of classes to 10. That's how many different classes, so like land cover types or just classes of different groupings that we want. Maximum number of iterations we'll keep at 20. Keep the maximum number of cluster merges per iteration to 5, and then keep 0.5 and the next parameter, which is minimum samples per cluster, 20, and then also the skip factor 10. So we're going to keep the defaults except for that very first one, and then run. And you will see a warning message when this tool runs, and it's just going to indicate that there's a lack of statistics in the input raster. However, for this exercise, the lack of stats is not causing any issues, so we're okay with continuing. So an Esri classifier definition file is created during this tool output, and a preview of the classification you could see right now in the map. So it's made 10 classes, 0 to 9, so that's 10 different classes as we assigned in the parameters, and now we can preview that classified new layer. So let's zoom closer into the raster and examine the preview. So we'll zoom in, and then let's click from the raster layer, we'll click the swipe tool, and let's swipe down. and you could see the original image. And so it does border different pixels that look alike to our eye. But there's a lot of things that we don't notice from the image, from this image right here, and that are very identified and distinct in this new classified layer. So that's a major benefit to using unsupervised classification by pixel, is because it can classify pixels that we may not be able to see with our naked eye. Just stop using this swipe tool. So I'll just select the select icon. And now we can move forward with the next step, which is to classify. So far we've configured, trained, and now we're classifying. Okay, so for the output classified data set, let's type, so rename this, and we're going to type as in unsupervised, but just shorten it, and then output, and it's a .tiff file. This is optional, so we'll keep as blank. And now we're ready to run. So a new classified raster is going to be added to our contents pane, and the symbology will differ from what we see right now currently on my map from the preview generated in this previous step. So this step in the wizard creates a new thematic or classified raster. And so in the following steps, we'll assign classes and process the raster to create a final product. So it's still running. It'll take a few minutes. Once this runs, we'll then select next, and we'll continue with the wizard image classification. Okay, so we've created a new classified raster, which is what's highlighted in my contents pane and what's showed on my map. And now we're going to assign a class based on the provided schema to each class. So let's select next in the wizard, the assign classes step. And this schema is based on NLCD 2011 schema and includes the following classes: water, developed, barren, forest, shrubland, herbaceous, planted, cultivated, wetlands, and then we have a delete option. So for this raster, there are also two classes of no data, or background pixels, because of the clipping of the raster. To account for these extra pixels, you will use the delete class, so this class. So to assign these, we're going to first start with 0. So right now it's assigned by default from 0 to 9, and we're gonna assign it. We're gonna assign these pixels based on these categories. So click this gray square next to the 0. Okay, and so we want all zeros to be deleted. So then select, and so if you zoom out, actually, it'll select all the pixels that are in this class right now. So again, if I select it, it should highlight blue. Maybe it's taking a second. And so these are highlighted cyan blue. So it's actually all of these pixels that are cyan blue. Okay, and so then I'm going to select delete up here, and then we'll select the assign button. So now that the cyan blue, so the 0 old class is selected as that highlighted blue, we're then going to select the delete, and then assign tool is this top left one, and we want to click on that pixel, and now it's going to find all the pixels that look like this and then classify them as delete. So now we're going to do this for the remainder of the 1 through 9 classes, but I want to follow along on a certain schema, and I will show you that now. I want to assign the classes based on this. Okay, for the 2 that's selected, we're going to select that as delete with the assign button on, so go ahead and click that pixel. And you're going to do this all the way until you get to class 9. Okay, so I've classified almost all of them. I'm on my last one. I selected the 9, and so it highlighted all the greens right now. And I want 9 to be herbaceous, so I'm going to select herbaceous, and then make sure assign tool is selected. Click on the map on one of the pixels that are highlighted right now, and then that should fill in and categorize all the 9s as green, and those will be called herbaceous. Okay, after you've assigned all of the classes, we will go ahead and select the next button. And then from the map tab in the selection group, we should click clear to clear the selection. So map and then clear. Okay, it's loading. And so this next step is the reclassify step. So reclassifying the classes. So this step in the wizard allows you to reclassify pixels that have been erroneously classified. So things that have been classified in error, or like because we used imagery from years ago and we're now going to look at current base maps and the machine classified them based on old imagery, which isn't accurate anymore. So those are scenarios in which we'd want to reclassify. So normally, if you were an analyst, you would scrutinize the entire classified raster if you found some erroneous classifications, so you could correct all the errors. For this exercise, though, we're just going to stick to one specific area to reclassify so we get that practice. And it's still loading. Loaded and nothing is selected, which is good. And we're now on the reclassifier wizard step. But first we're going to head on over to the catalog. And we want to expand the folder, the image class unsuper PB folder. So the one that we extracted from our canvas. Expand the data folder. And then we could close Landsat. And then we're going to add reclassify area shapefile. So right click on reclass area and add to current map. So this is just a polygon. It's just one basically rectangle. And we're going to use this polygon as a boundary for the area that we want to reclassify. Normally, again, as an analyst would reclassify the entire area to be sure that it's accurate. For this lab exercise, we're only going to reclassify this area. Okay, so make sure this is reclassify area is selected in the contents pane. And then from the feature layer ribbon up at the top, let's go ahead and click that. And then we're going to click symbology. So go ahead and click symbology. We just want to make this a red outline. So let's change the symbology for this reclassify area feature class. Oops, you don't need to click that. Just click the purple rectangle and we're going to change this shape. So go to properties, tab to the right of gallery. And then for color, let's choose no color. And then outline color, let's make it a red, something bright that we can see. Okay. And then apply. And then let's zoom to this layer. So we'll just right click on a reclassify area and then select zoom to layer. We also don't need to have all these other layers on for this. So it'll work quicker if we can turn off from the layers. Most of them. So from the bottom, turn off multispectral, the original multispectral band data, the convolution band, turn that off. And I will collapse them as I turn them off. And then we'll turn off preview. Oh. And then let's turn on unsup output. And also this preview. So those layers are turned off and all we have are our latest preview reclassification layer that we just did prior to this step and then our reclassify area. So now we're going to switch out the base map. So if you go to map and then select the base map icon, we want to choose aerial imagery right there. So the reclassifier step in the wizard allows you to reclassify pixels that have been erroneously classified. So in a professional environment, you would scrutinize the entire classified raster if you found anything incorrect to correct any errors. For this exercise though, like I said, we're only going to zoom into the reclassify area, and we're going to look at areas that may have been reclassified incorrectly. So to do that, click the preview reclass layer, and up in the raster layer ribbon, let's make it 50% so we can kind of see the classifications. And so you could see a lot of this is classified as like forest, these green polygons. But if we turn off or make this fully transparent, we can see that it's actually not a forest. It's developed land or other types of land cover. So this could have been because the base map is newer, so it shows more accurate information. And then the Landsat data that we used was from 2016, and it's showing something that was once there and is not anymore. Okay, so we are going to correct that. And to do that, we're going to go up to the image classification wizard that we were working on. And then now we're on the reclassifier step. So we want to choose reclassify within a region. And we're going to select the reclassify area as the region. Okay, and in the current class, let's select forest. Like I said, these green polygons, they're actually not forest, right? And so the new class, we want it to be herbaceous. So that means we're going to correct this data. So we're going to choose all the green classified areas, the forest type within this red square, rectangle rather, and reclassify them as herbaceous. So and I am having a harder time seeing that. So I'm going to make it a little less transparent. There we go. And so then in the remap classes section, so we already remapped these. So now click in the map and draw a polygon around the pixels that we want to change. So let's reclassify within a region. And I'm going to just click around this forest and double click to finish, or F2. And it just reclassified like that. And if you somehow have it clicked again, you could press the escape button and that'll go back to just the normal scrolly icon. Okay, so that green, that forested land cover has now been reclassified as herbaceous. We're going to do the same thing with this forest cover down here. And so on and so forth until we correct all the old forest land cover and switch it to herbaceous. Okay, see how it just switched it to a yellow herbaceous polygon? So we're actually reclassifying these and correcting the data. And if you make a mistake, your list of edits, it's an edit log, is over here. And you could click them on and off to go back if you maybe corrected it and you realize that you were wrong and you want to redact it. And I see some more green ones over here. And let's just be completely sure that I got all of the green. And it looks like I did. The rest is barren, so it has a green hue to it. Okay, so we've corrected the classified areas, otherwise known as reclassified. And now we're ready to run the image classification wizard. So let's go ahead and select run. Okay, and it successfully ran. So that means the final classified thematic raster is added to the contents pane. Right there, reclassified. And you can see all the green forested land is now not within this area, and it's been switched to herbaceous. And then we can click finish because we've completed our first wizard image reclassification. And let's zoom to the entire extent of this layer. And there is our thematic raster using unsupervised pixel-based image classification. So now we can remember to save early and often, and the lab assignment for this week is to produce a lab showing the land cover types. So have a legend that shows the land cover types, just the water all the way through herbaceous. You could take delete out if you want, or keep that there. That's up to you. And then include the other essential map elements. Good job working on your first unsupervised classification exercise, and thank you.